Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining and welcome to this version of our Product People live stream event. Now, before we start, we want to let you know that we will be streaming this event on both LinkedIn and YouTube, and you can also watch a recorded version on YouTube of this event afterwards. Please feel free to scan this barcode here, QR code here, and let us know if you have any questions and answer our polls. We'd like to get to know you a little bit. Now, to today's event, what does an AI product manager do? And the differences from traditional product management with our very own Deniz Dogan. He is a product management consultant at Product People and a seasoned product management professional with over 6 years of experience across B2B and B2C. He's been a driving force at TIA Mobility, leading efforts from C to Series D and focusing on operational excellence, compliance, and expansion. In the B2B space, he's led product initiatives for companies like Ultimate AI and STP.1, working on innovative solutions ranging from conversational AI to smart data, retail, and tech. Now, I've had the pleasure of working with Deniz, and he is a strategic mindset with a hands-on approach and continuing to make a significant impact in the world of product management. Now, before we go any further, I would like to also introduce myself. I'm Matthias, Associate Product Management Consultant at Product People with over 4 years of experience in product management and project management and operations. I have experience in both B2B and B2C as a product manager in the SaaS subscription management world. And to introduce us to you, for those of you who don't know us, we are a product management consultancy focusing on interim product management, product operations, transformation, and acceleration, and do services via our in-house staff. This is how we make money. We also host free events like this talk for our community, which is one of Europe's largest product management community with over 50,000 members. Now, we would like to get to know you a little bit better. So I would invite you to scan this QR code here and answer the question, how much experience do you have with AI product management? A, not at all, but I'm interested. Just started working in the field. I have some experience, but still learning. I've been working on AI before it was cool. So giving you a little bit of time to answer this question. This is just to get to know our audience a little bit better. Now, going through the results. Thank you guys for doing this. More and more coming in. Okay, interesting. 50% some experience, but still learning. That's cool. Going to give you a few more seconds to answer. All right, I think we have enough. All right, let's go through the results. 41% of you don't have any product management artificial experience in AI product management. 18% have just started in the field. 32 have some experience, and 9% have been working on AI before it was cool. Now, before taking up any more of your time, I want to hand over to our guest.
Great. Thank you very much, Matthias. I think this was one of the nicest introduction I got. Thank you very much for that. We can start now with, oops, sorry, I was a bit too fast with my slides. All right, here we go. So thanks everyone for joining and also answering the poll question. Today's topic, as you already know, will be about what does an AI product manager do? And I will talk about the differences from traditional product management. It was very interesting to see the different people that joined this live stream event. I will be very upfront and transparent with all of you that this talk will mainly be useful for people that are interested to jump into the AI product management world, just started or have some experience. I think the ones that do it before it was cool can maybe potentially also learn one thing or two, but you work even longer than I do in AI, so probably you have more experience. I just wanted to put that disclaimer in. Having said that, let's dive straight in, because why are we here? Oh no, it's me, but I will skip this one because Matthias already did it. So why are we here? So the thing is, we all know that AI is kind of like the hype, right? And everyone's talking about it, but we also have data that backs it up. So there's a McKinsey study that you may or may not have seen, but I wanted to share because it's quite interesting. It was released this year, and you can see that AI, at least in one business function, was always like hovering in the 50% mark in certain companies or some companies. But since last year, it's skyrocketed first to 555, and then now in this year, it's 72% of companies where at least one business function uses AI. And I want to emphasize here that this, what you see, is only shows one business function, but there are also graphs and data that shows that there are companies, and the number is also quite big, where they use AI in more than one business function. And then also on the graph, you see that the use of generative AI in the companies also kind of skyrocketed and doubled in percentage. Last year, it was 33%, and this year it is 65%. So there's a lot of hype, and the hype is real, and a lot of companies want to jump on the surf the hype, so to say. So what does it actually mean then for us product managers? And I want to go to the next slide, which yeah, you may get the reference if you went for the summer, and but if not, it's also fine. But yeah, I created this meme based on the reference from Brett, which says a product manager, and it's the same, but there's AI, so it's not. And if I'm very honest, this kind of gives already kind of a spoiler where I will go with my presentation today, because product management is changing because of AI, but it's not going to be a complete new world. And that is also the aim. I want to show you, I want to go and walk you through different components that you are probably all aware of, because these things that you see on this slide right now are not new for you. As a product manager, you have to have kind of like a technical understanding. You have to have a commercial acumen. You care about user experience. You're driving a strategy, etc., right? But I want to go on each of these components and tell you what kind of things are changing when you work with AI products. And we will start first with the technical understanding, and then we will move on from each component. The first one is technical understanding, so the AI knowledge that you need. Of course, the first one that you see is very obvious, because without that, you cannot do anything. You have to have the like understanding of AI and machine learning capabilities. I note down some concepts here, right? Or like such as supervised versus unsupervised learning. Supervised means basically that the AI model finds patterns or tries to make sense of labeled data and tries to make predictions and or classifications, while unsupervised learning models are not using labeled data. So the AI model is looking for patterns to discover hidden structures in the data. Or generative AI, you all have used it probably by now. It's basically that an AI model can create content. Content can be text, images, even music, as you know, and these kind of things. So I will not go into all these details and the concepts here. I just want to highlight a few ones because this is not the aim of this talk. It's not about technical foundations for AI product managers, but I think it can be a cool talk. So if anyone wants to do it, let me know. Or let product people know. But you have to have an understanding of these kind of things, and you have to know which of these kind of AI and machine learning models, what they can do, what are the capabilities. The way I just said it in a high level, it's not enough, of course. It's definitely not enough. You have to be a bit more detailed in knowing what the capabilities are. But I personally think you don't have to be like a technical expert. You don't have to have years of understanding on work knowledge in these categories. You just have to know what can you use for which user need and what are the limitations and what are the costs, etc. So I'm going to the next one, which is was for me the difficult part. For me, understanding concepts is quite easy, but what was hard for me when I started working in AI models and or in AI product management was understanding the limitations of different models and what they can do, what kind of model I can use to solve the user need that I want to meet. And for that, yeah, you just have to really, what I did basically is I just sit down with engineers and ask a lot of questions. That's the best way to do it. But of course, you can also use AI models like or like ChatGPT or whatever to learn this. But I did the old school way and ask engineers to work on this to really understand the limitations. And what does it mean? So basically, you have to understand where your data is coming from, what kind of quality constraints it has. Can the solution that you're building handle increased data volume? So if a user sends a lot of requests at the same time, can we handle this, etc.? It's also something that I experienced firsthand where the data volume was not handled well. Some customers started to complain. We got bug tickets. We had to iterate on a model. So these are real life examples and things that you really have to consider moving forward. And the first two things you will need. Why? Because of course, at the end of the day, you will work with machine learning and data engineers, and you have to know what you're talking about. So even though you will have to know why you are using AI and for like what you want to use AI for, and the how still lies on their part, right? And they are the experts at the end of the day. So please always collaborate, ask them to select the appropriate model and data sets. Tell them what you need, but let them have the freedom to decide on which direction we want to go. And that's why I also want to say that it's very, very helpful to motivate and encourage your machine learning engineers, especially, to think out of the box and come with new ideas that they can also explore new models, and that they come to you and say they discover this and that, and of course as a product manager you can also do it, but I personally believe that unless you have been a machine learning engineer in your previous life before, you will not be as knowledgeable as they are. So really collaborate, encourage them to explore and come up with ideas and find together ways to bring the best AI product on the market. The next one is commercial acumen. So here I will start also with something which is the first obvious one, solving the right problem. As you can see right now that a lot of companies are just running or surfing the hype. They are just throwing everything on the wall and try to see what sticks and what doesn't stick. And this is, of course, one way to figure out your AI strategy, but it's not the right way. So it is very important for you as a PM to be still the voice of the customer and do continuous product discovery. So I cannot emphasize this enough, and I will go and talk about this also later in later slides. But you have to really discover what kind of problem you want to solve and where it makes sense to use AI. and where it doesn't make sense, because not everything needs an AI solution. You still have to balance business needs with own business needs. So every problem that you want to solve, you have to see in what way they are related to the business needs. And you have to own the outcomes, of course. Here, something very specific for AI PMs is that you also have to think about AI-specific KPIs. So how accurate are the models, etc. Because these kind of things are super important because they also drive your business value and business impact. So they go hand in hand. So your scope of creating or thinking of KPIs is increasing actually. And then the last thing, that is one of the most crucial things at the moment, I would say, is are you going to build everything from the ground up internally, or are you going to buy something that is out there and maybe quite kind of tweak it to your needs, you know? And there are many categories, or like not categories, but many things you have to consider here, right? So you have to, for example, look, do you actually have the technical expertise in-house to build something? If not, then the answer is clearly you either have to hire the technical expertise or maybe buying the AI solution immediately. You have to think what kind of use cases you want to solve, because if you're working like in a niche market, you cannot use every type of kind of AI model to cover your niche that you're working for. So maybe that in this case, it also makes sense to maybe build it in-house. Also cost, it's very important to look into it, right? And last but not least, what will be the long-term competitive advantage in building in-house or buying the solution? For that, and I will come out to that also in later stages, you need like a vision, and you have to do a lot of market research because the space is evolving still. It's not like it didn't reach like the maturity. And so things will change, models will improve, and you have to be kind of one step ahead because you have to know what's coming next, because the model that you're using today, maybe that the one that you bought can be outdated by tomorrow, and cannot meet the needs for your customers anymore. So we really have to think strategically here and planning a long-term strategy. Next one is user experience and communication with users, but also internal stakeholders. So here the thing is, one thing that I think all of you that are here are, of course, really excited about AI and potentially even not scared. But I can tell you from my experience during product discovery calls that there are users still that are scared of AI, but they're not scared of AI in terms of they will take over the role or whatever. It's more about they don't understand right now how they work. They don't understand where they get the data from, where they get the answers from. A lot of customers are already aware of hallucinations, meaning AI is making up an answer that is not true. And but they're still afraid to use it because this hallucination exists. So your job as an PM is to be very transparent with this. You have to build trust with your customers. So show them how your AI model works. You can do it, you can go the maybe usual route, like you can do webinars where you explain how it works, what are the limitations. You can write a white paper. You can create an FAQ section on your homepage, whatever it is, but educate your customers and tell them transparently how it works. It also makes sense to tell them if you use like if you use, for example, OpenAI, the API from them, makes sense to also be transparent with them, tell them that you use this, right? Because also the data storage is super important. Customers care about where the data is stored. You have to communicate the AI risks, right? So I said, again, hallucinations is one part. You probably are all aware that ChatGPT has like a small disclaimer that says the information that it provides might not be accurate. Please double check. These kind of things you can also implement in your products, and I think this is not only to be fair to your customers, but also kind of to save yourself from legal lawsuits, right? And then the last point, which is at the moment, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, super crucial. It may change in a few years, but right now it's very important to put users in control of AI features. So even if you work on AI features, right, or you want to release a new kind of AI initiative, AI feature for the first time in your product suite, don't enforce this on your customers. Tell them that it is there, explain them the value, but don't just turn it on immediately for them. Give them the flexibility to use it. For example, one good way this has been done was Figma. We advertised it everywhere, but it was not immediately available for all the users, and Figma admin had to activate it. So I think this is a good way to do it for products in general. One bad example that I want to give is Meta, or more specifically Facebook. Maybe you have heard in the news, I think it was last year even, or beginning of this year, where Facebook used user data to train their AI models. And it was super difficult for users to opt out of it. They could, but it was like a long process. It was hidden under some certain it was not easy to find, so long story short. And they got a lot of backlash. A lot of people started complaining about it. And then at the end of the day, Meta just stopped completely using European data to train their models. But I think they didn't have to do it so drastically to stop the data training if they would have had better thought about the market entry, or kind of made users more aware that this is happening and made it more easy to turn it off. Then ethics and compliance. This is something I personally think it's super important. Like, compliance makes a lot of sense, probably. Ethics is something that I think it's still a bit neglected in certain areas. What does it mean? So here again, 4 points that I want to really briefly talk about. First of all, designing ethical and inclusive AI systems, or in general also products. Any kind of AI system that you use or product that you use should be thought about, like, how should I say it? Like, everyone should be able to use it. Like, it doesn't matter what kind of background you have or what kind of ability. Again, the example of ChatGPT, where in the beginning it was only like you can only communicate with writing to ChatGPT, but not everyone can write, right? So now you can also communicate with voice and something like that. So that's what I mean. So maybe you don't have to immediately have it from the first release, but really think about all the users for your products and make it very, very inclusive for everyone. Then another thing that is super crucial, and I think that is the biggest thing that has to be improved in the next year or two, is like having a diverse and representative training data set. What that does mean, it's like a lot of data still can be very biased. Some common pitfalls that still happen until this day is, for example, if you use a language translation tool, the model, like, for example, you want to translate something from English to, like, let's say German or so, the model assumes gender. So basically, it says, like, it uses the male gender for specific type of jobs, or the female gender for other type of jobs. And this should not be the case, right? So this can happen because the data set is not trained well. Or for example, if you want to create a new type of image, right, of a person, and most times still the European way of beauty is used, right? But I might not be from Europe, so I cannot associate them. So I really want to emphasize that the data set here has to be quite diverse, and you can conduct regular bias and audits. And I want to give also quite good examples here. For example, IBM, they released something called what was it? 360 fairness system or model or something like that. It's an open source toolkit that you can use to see and audit if your data is diverse or not. So it can uncover biases. It's quite cool. But also, for example, Microsoft released like a research, like a kind of like white paper on how to build inclusive AI systems. So this is quite cool, and have a look at these things if you are not aware of, to build them. Another thing is, of course, being compliant with legislations and data privacy laws. For the ones that are quite active on LinkedIn, you probably see that there's a lot of bashing right now on the EU, because the EU wants to regulate AI before it's actually setting the ground, so to say. And a lot of people think that hinders innovation. It's a long conversation that we could have right now. I don't want to say if it's right or wrong. All I can say is that even that the regulations will evolve and you have to stay up to date to be compliant. Nobody can run away from compliance. Even big companies like Apple have to comply at the end of the day. So there's no escape from it. So your job as PM is really to educate yourself. So if you worked in environments where compliance was never like a big issue or like a big topic, this will change definitely. You have to consider this. Another thing is the teams that you are setting up in general should be also inclusive, because an inclusive AI team can discover biases more easily, much faster, especially if you do internal trainings and testing. Something that is not obvious to you can be obvious to someone else. So this is very cool if there's an inclusive team. And last but not least, and this can be tricky, but it's not impossible, balancing innovation with responsible AI practices. I know we are all hyped. We want to release cool features and these kind of things, but really have like a checklist ready for compliance or AI ethics to see if the new feature that you're looking into it or the initiative is really is fulfilling all the requirements. Google, for example, has such a review process. If I'm not completely mistaken, it's not like specifically, this review process is not specifically made for AI and machine learning initiatives, but they have some kind of like a review process where they're looking into these compliance checklists, and also in the ethics, they have a dedicated team that reviews it. So think about, maybe you don't need to have a dedicated team for it, right? But have kind of like a checklist ready. And last but not least, as a PM, a lot of people will not think about it, will not care about it. But I think as an APM, it's your job to really emphasize on this, because you're not building only products for one type of person. You're building products for many, many type of people. And that's why you should always encourage everyone to think outside the box and to include more people and diverse mindsets. So now I'm coming to product development. So what does this here change? And here you will hear a few things that I will repeat myself, but it is very important. And that's why I want to emphasize on these things again. I want to first start with the first thing, because still until this day, a lot of people get it wrong. Even though now when you read it, it's obvious, but AI is not a solution. It never will be a solution. It's just a tool for a solution or to meet a user need or solve a customer pain point. So you cannot just say AI is here's AI and the solution is solved. Never. That's why product discovery is more important than ever before. Of course, as PMs, you know that product discovery is important, but I also worked in companies where it was quite neglected, where they just tried out things and saw if something sticks. But really, if you really want to build a good AI feature, you have to do discovery. And it also requires kind of new questions and validation methods, because as I said before, some users are still a bit kind of like shy away from using AI. So you really have to also specifically ask, as an example, if they have experience with AI and what the experience are, just to get like an idea of how comfortable are they if you are going with the AI solution. Prototyping will change as well a bit. So because this is kind of like a bit new still, and people want to see and feel it. They want to see if for example, you're building again like a chatbot for lawyers or something else. It's not enough for people just to see some Figma designs here and say, oh, that looks nice, cool. They want to really see what kind of output it generates based on questions. So really, you will need proper like prototypes. They don't have to be fancy, they don't have to be looking nice, but they have to kind of show what the AI is capable of. And for this proof of concept, of course, it all heavily depends on engineers. So for the prototyping, it's very crucial to work with the engineers from the beginning, to evaluate which kind of metal you want to use, and also look at prompt engineering, for example, how to optimize for that. Data is the base of almost all, actually all models. And sometimes when you really start with your business, you might not have the necessary data for it. And so you might think, oh God, how can I start? So in my experience, mock data is not a bad thing. You can use mock data as a starting point to evaluate internally if your solution is working. But of course, and there's a lot of mock data openly available online for everyone that you can use. But have a look if this mock data that you're using is really like fits to your real world conditions. So basically, if you work in fintech, you cannot use data for medtech. It's obvious, but want to emphasize that this is something that you have to consider. If you cannot find any type of mock data for your specific needs, then you can of course synthetically create data as well and make up data. And dog fooding your product is still a good thing to do, and so you can do it. Let your internal stakeholders use it. They are the biggest critic anyway, most times, because they, as much as you want the company to succeed, so let them use it. But in my personal experience, you should find real users as quickly as possible. And in the best case, even co-develop the product, the AI product with them. In the B2B context, that's what I did is I reach out to sales to find customers that love us, that are our advocates. And I started to interview them, do product discovery calls with them, and try to figure out what they like, what they would like to have, and stuff like that, and kind of co-develop with them. The reason why I think this is a great way to do it is for many reasons. First, these customers love you already. So even if you build like a shitty product, they will not leave. So you will retain your customers, but they will be excited to build something with you together. At least in my case, it was the case because they can share their input. And once it reaches like a certain stage, you can release it to a broader audience. But I think this is a cool way to do it, and one of the best ways. In B2C, you can also do it, but sometimes, as you know, it's a bit trickier to find your biggest advocates in the B2C context. But in B2B, you just have to reach out to sales to move forward. So now I'm going to the roadmap because our AI product development has also an impact on the roadmap. And what I want to say here is 3 main points. You have extended time frames because like AI products or initiatives in general can take a longer time to launch because you really have to explore use cases. You have to build a data pipeline if it doesn't exist yet. And more importantly, and that's again emphasizing it over and over again, do you really need AI? Like, or is there some easier way to solve it, right? And you really have to balance all the long-term planning for like, but also the flexibility for experimentation, iteration, because iteration is something that I will come in as a third point, but it is something that is also very important. Before I go to the iteration part, I will also talk about the uncertainty and high risk. Of course, requirements and goal shift also internally, especially right now, if you are not like an AI first company and you just want to do it because everyone is doing it, it can happen that next year the C-level says, oh, okay, we tried, it doesn't make sense, let's stop everything, right? So your requirements and the goals will shift and you have to adapt your roadmap based on that. So really you have to look at that, but also the AI models are always improving, right? So you really have to iterate on them. You have to look, does it make sense to upgrade to the newest model? If yes, does it have an impact on our use cases? If not, amazing, let's do it. If yes, if it has an impact, what should we do, etc. Product market fit can take longer, as I said a couple of times already. And also what I said before, new regulatory requirements can come. And sometimes regulatory requirements have, no, not sometimes, actually all the time, they have strict deadlines and you have to meet them. So something that is not there yet, there can be like a new rule by next year. So we really have to think about that and incorporate it into your roadmap. And then last point, what I touched upon briefly, is the heavy emphasis on model iteration, because this always has to be incorporated into your roadmap. The model has to be improved because maybe because the data that you use is outdated, or because generally like the outsourced AI solution that you use, the model has been upgraded, so you also have to upgrade it internally. So there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts that you have to take into consideration. Now I'm going to my last point, which is strategy. So here, your scope as a PM is also expanding. Usually, when you think about strategy, it's most times only like product strategy, where you focus on the key problems to solve for the business. You look where does it make sense to use AI and where not, etc. And how to move the business metrics forward, right? But as an AI PM, you have to define and kind of be the driving force a bit for two other strategies. One is the data strategy, and the other one is the AI strategy. For the data strategy, of course, you can collaborate with data engineers, so you don't have to do everything by yourself and suggest the best possible way to create data pipelines. But you have to decide basically what kind of data sources you need, where to get them from, how often do we have to update them, these kind of things. Also, like, is the data diverse or not, to encompass what I said before with the AI ethics. So you have to think also about that. And then also AI strategy, what I said before, do we want to build in-house? Do we want to buy something? Do you want to do something in between? How will our competitive advantage look like in the future if we buy it and outsource our AI solution or whatever? It's very important that here in AI strategy you have to educate yourself. You have to know what's coming, and there's a lot of knowledge, and there's so many people that are even more knowledgeable than me and you, of course, like general, for the ones that just starting, I mean. And so listen to what they think are the newest trends, and also encourage, because you should broaden the team's perspective, but also encourage your team to share new findings, etc. So, and last but not least, what I want to say for this part is you have to develop metrics that encompasses kind of like all three strategy areas. So something that is like looking into business impact, but also AI performance, because these both things go in hand in hand. For example, if you want to drive your net promoter score, for instance, or customer satisfaction score, but your AI and the one AI metric would be then, of course, how accurate are the results or how fast it does reply. You know, if this metrics are low, it will have an impact on customer satisfaction or on net promoter score, because people like users will be unhappy. They will be happy potentially about the output, but they will not be happy that it took like 30 minutes to get an answer from the model, right? So you have to see what kind of metrics are going hand in hand and create like a multi-layered metrics. It was a lot of information, I believe. So that's why I created a summary slide. And I actually also want to go back to my meme that I just showed in the beginning, which said product manager, and it's the same, but there's AI, so it's not. And this is exactly also the main message that I want to give everyone today is that your job as a PM is evolving, and that's a good thing. So your job is nobody's getting rid of you. AI will not replace you, but it's nothing completely new where you have to forget everything that you learned before. You see here, I will not go through each of these things because of time, but you see, for example, here, the core PM skills stay the same. So you're still the voice of the customer. You still have to uncover, read between the lines what the customer says. You have to own the outcomes. You have to think strategically. You know, you are cost collaborating. But for the AI product management, there are specific things that you have to consider. Of course, you have to have the technical knowledge, right? Again, it always depends on what kind of company you work for, right? And how complex the AI model and solution is. But in general, you don't have to be a really deep expert. Just have to know the capabilities, the limitations, and applications for these kind of things. You have to know that your discovery and prototyping thing can take longer than usual. And that data is the basis for everything. It's a foundation. It has to be good so the AI model can work perfectly. And last but not least, also AI is always an enabler. It's never the solution. It's just it's a tool. It's a new type of technological tool that you can use to deliver amazing customer experiences or user experience for your users. And there's a bonus slide here because I expected that there's a lot of people that want to break into AI product management and are not working there yet. So that I create this bonus slide. And I just want to talk about pathways to AI product management. I was in a kind of good situation because I'm working at product people and I got clients in that industry. So I could learn on the ground with them together. But that's still good news for you. Why? Because I am proof that you can you can leverage your existing skills to kickstart your AI product management career. I just showed over and over again in the last few slides that core PM skills are still there and they are still needed. And if you have them, that is quite a good basis. Another thing that I would suggest is to network with AI professionals that are way more experienced than you and ask them for feedback, suggestions, or with other AI PMs as well. Like I'm happy, like you can also reach out to me, please, and talk to me. I would not say I'm an expert in everything, but I have experience as you have seen, and I'm happy to rubber duck with you about certain problems you have or just exchange knowledge. So please go ahead and use LinkedIn or other tools that you use or social media platforms. You can gain practical experience, and here don't be afraid. You don't have to go crazy and build like a machine learning algorithm. Uh, just build your own GPT, for example, right? Or learn prompt engineering. That is also practical experience because you learn the capabilities, limitations, etc. You can do online courses. I know this is love or hate. Some people hate it, some people love it. I did it, and I have a few ones on my radar that I want to do. I think it can be very valuable and helpful. Maybe it's not always practical, but it's definitely very good for theoretical knowledge. And last but not least, of course, it's a bit obvious, but you have to embrace lifelong learning as a product manager, but also as an AI product manager. The space is evolving and you have to keep track on it. I hope it was useful, helpful for you. We still have a few minutes for some questions that you have. But before we go into the questions, I will hand over to Matthias.
Thank you, Deniz. I'll share myself again real quick. Now, thank you all for listening. Now is the time for our QA. So if you have any questions for Deniz, just scan this QR code and let us know what you want to know. We try to fit in all the questions you have, and I'll just give you a few seconds for you all to scan this code before I will share some more background about product people with all of you. Now, a little bit more background about product people. What do we exactly do and when do you want to engage us? So first of all, we help you with interim fractional product management. So if you have permanent positions or need permanent position covered or parental leave covers, or you want to lead or you want us to lead important and urgent initiatives, we will help you there. Second, we will help you with product coaching and consultancy. So we will coach your product team and we will help you streamline your processes and program. And third, we do product discovery. So we will help you discover the next impactful initiative you want to do with your product and help you run a low or no code MVP. Now, some references and clients we've worked with so far. Some of them you probably know. Some of them being Zalando, Tier, Scout24, FreeNow, DeepL, Ecosia, Freeletics, or Blinkist, and B2C space. And as for our B2B clients, we've worked with Client, Utopia, the World Health Organization, Alira Health, and Ometria. So some cool stats about product people. We have supported more than 300 cross-functional teams with over 70 plus clients. Some of them being Series A startups, to some of them being publicly listed companies. We currently engage 42 product managers and product leaders. They are in-house and full-time employees, and to ensure quality service for our clients and customers. And another cool fact about us is that we currently have 62% of women in the team and 66% them being in leadership positions. We have a strong bias to promote from within our firm to attract more women than currently the tech industry does, thanks to our skills before CV hiring process. Now, thanks for listening, and we can go through your questions. So one, if we're looking for an AI PM to help build out and test a role at our organization, is that something product people does?
Okay, so basically you want to see if we can help you to be please reach out to us. We can evaluate so what we do is we also do kind of like a product discovery call with clients to see to understand your needs, and based on that we can see if we can help you out. But usually, yes, we can help out in a lot of things. You can also reach out immediately to me, and I can provide you the contact details to our internal team that can follow up with you.
Okay, thanks, Deniz. Next question. There are so many introductory courses on AI. What courses would you recommend for us to go through and to kick off our journey to being a AI product manager?
All right, so that's a good question. And there's many courses, I agree. And a lot of these courses are also just very like basis on theory, so it's not very helpful. I'm not paid to say this. It's just my personal experience. I recently finished a course by Go Practice. It was a very short course to understand how to become a better prompt engineer and how generative AI is working. It was very hands-on and very helpful. You have to solve a questionnaire after each point, and you also have to be a bit hands-on. But they also have a much more dedicated machine learning and AI product management course that goes over a few months. And this is also quite hands-on. This is something that I have not started yet, but it's on that I will do. I had very good stuff. Actually, a colleague of mine is doing it, as far as I know. So long story short, Go Practice is that's the one I'm very happy about. There are a few other ones that you can find on Coursera. I forgot his last name now. It's from Andrew. Yeah, Andrew Ning. So Andrew Ng. He has hopefully I pronounce his name right. But he's a very, very seasoned AI professional, and his courses are very valuable, and you can find them on Coursera. So Andrew, and then last name is NG. Hope that answered. But reach out to me. I can also write them again via LinkedIn for you.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Next question. How can product managers use AI without being standardized?
I wish that person could elaborate. What does it mean with standardized?
It doesn't say any further, but yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't say.
okay, so it's quite tricky to understand because I don't quite understand the question, unfortunately. However, you still have time to write them again in Slido to be more precise. Or again, I encourage you to just message me. I'm happy to answer also offline.
Okay, thanks, Dennis. Uh, with longer development cycles and thus more risks, how can we improve, practically speaking, the discovery phases and make sure to develop what is really needed?
Very good question. And my suggestion is to do like a lot of, as I said, you should find real users quickly. So, of course, talking with them is one part, and that's very important. And to uncover how to, what kind of AI, like, does AI make sense to solve the problem? But the development cycle can be longer, right? So, what I would suggest is doing a lot of quick iterations and rapid prototyping. So, really like a maybe scrappy UI that's more than enough, but show them how the UI works and what kind of problem it solves, even if the UI is very bad. And then based on the feedback, go have like a session with the customer or user, talk with them, let them play with this scrappy UI, and then get the feedback, iterate on it quickly, have again a follow-up session with them if possible, get feedback. So I would say, long story short, rapid prototyping and iteration is the key here to speed up the whole discovery and delivery process.
Okay, thanks, Dennis. Next question. Someone wants to know if you would recommend creating or how to get into AI, PM, or product management. Do you think you should create a side data project to really understand the techniques needed, or are theoretical courses and certifications enough?
I personally think certifications are not enough. Again, it depends on how you obtain these certifications. If you really did a course where you had to do hands-on things, so not only reading and answering some questions, but you really build something, then the certification is amazing. But if you just have like theoretical knowledge based on the certification, it's definitely not enough. I mean, maybe you're lucky that you will pass the interview stage, but then could become a bit tricky during once you start the job. I personally think that you can learn anything also on the job, but depending on what the company is looking for, they might look for someone that has already experience, and then certifications might not be enough. So long story short, again here, if you do a course and you get a certification, look for courses where you build hands-on something or did something, like it can be very as simple as prompt engineering, where you improve this or like, yeah, or like a GPT, whatever. Let's have something to prove.
Okay, thank you. One last question. Someone says he's been an AI machine learning product manager for years, and nowadays he or she can't help but think that buy will win over build for most use cases and organizations. because build is so costly. What are your thoughts?
Also, good question. And I personally think in some way it's true. I think there could be also like some middle way where you can buy it, but then also tweak it to your needs. That's at least something that I did at a previous client of ours, where we used an existing AI API or AI solution, but we tweaked it to our needs and to our niche. And this is something that we built in-house. So in my opinion, buying will be the driving force, and building from the scratch for everything will not happen. But I don't think it will only be buying. I think it will be like a mixture of both. That's my personal opinion. But it's
Okay.
costly. That's true. It's super costly to build a house. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis. So thank you for sharing. It's been very insightful as usual with you. Now for everybody, please feel free to scan those codes. Either if you're looking to become a product manager at Product People, or to subscribe to our newsletter to receive inspiring PM stories in your inbox. Going to give you some seconds to scan the codes. And coming up next, practical financial analysis tips for product managers, again by our very own John Freeman, also a product management consultant at Product People. Feel free to join, and thank you very much for joining us today. Check us out at the links you see on the screen, and looking forward to seeing you at the next live stream.